Okay, what's up, guys? Uh, Brandon here. Um, I want to do a video, something I haven't done in a while. Um, Commentary on a show I watched, um, and I don't really see anybody talking about it. Um, on YouTube at least, and it's a really good show. Um, you know, um, I feel like it doesn't get the recognition maybe that it should. A lot of good actors in it. Uh, you know, one of them a former, I think it was Disney um, group person, Nick Jonas, formerly the Jonas Brothers, um, and just really great actors though. Frank Grillo, Kiel Sanchez, Matt Luna, Jonathan Tucker, uh, Joanna Going, Natalie Martinez, um, great actors, and I think that highly, highly underrated show. Um, so, episode 309. I know I'm starting from kind of in the middle here, but this is what I just watched today. Today is Thursday now, the 27th. So July 27th, 2017. Yeah, so let's kind of get right into it. Um, so Lisa and Dom, um, basically there was a lot of tension between uh, Lisa and Dom, as well as with Alvy. Alvy especially. Alvy didn't like him. Could tell right off the bat that he was a kind of a con man. Um, you know, Lisa hired him. Uh, so, you know, uh, she thought he would be good for kind of filling in the spots um, that Alvy couldn't fill because Alvy's gearing up for this Legends fight. Um, you know, so there's that. That kind of came to a head when Lisa actually ends up firing Dom, um, and Dom kind of, um, well, at first he tries to steal Ryan Wheeler from uh, from Navy Street, uh, and fails because Ryan is loyal to Navy Street and to Alvy and the crew there. Because basically Alvy kind of helped him through a very rough part in his life. Uh, you know, and especially with Ryan's dad passing and the whole thing with him and his dad, especially after the fight between Ryan and his dad and that whole mess. So, Ryan's really loyal to Alvy and the crew. You know, uh, so he basically tells Dom, "Look, if you were good enough to be my coach, you would be." Saying that, basically calling him out as a second-rate coach, and Dom didn't like that too much. He actually went to um, the press, one guy in particular, um, and started talking shit about what was going on in Navy Street as a whole, you know, saying that it was personal, saying that because he and Lisa slept together, that it was personal, you know. Um, really what it was he was trying to cut in between Alvy and Ryan and basically become Ryan's coach when that's not what his job was. He also did a whole lot of other shit like trying to, change fighters' diets and the way they approach a lot of things. And when, again, that was not his place. He had just come in, you know, um, and was doing this under Alvy's nose, trying to, anyways. Um, you know, without even consulting anybody about it or anything like that. So, basically, Dom was a giant fucking weasel. And he got called out on it. Got called out on the floor about it and ended up getting fired for it. So, like I said, he went to the press, tried to, badmouth Navy Street, and Lisa handled it fairly well when I forget the press guy's name. I'm sorry, but he basically came up to Lisa and said, "Hey, comment on this, all the shit that he's talking," and saying that it was personal, saying that at one point Dom starts talking badly about Ryan, saying that he's mentally unstable, saying that he shouldn't even, be a fighter anymore, because of the break-in incident where, Ryan ends up like beating the guy half to death. Although you can tell it kind of does weigh on Ryan, but to try and say that he's unstable for it weighing on him is just, first of all, it's not his place. Second of all, the fact that it weighs on him makes him more human. It just because he cares about that kid that tried to break in, So there's that, and then so what ends up happening is Dom ends up trying to retract the whole thing, calling up the guy, saying, "Hey, I don't want you to actually, print this and everything else." And the press guy, being the, asshole that he is, he says, "You know what? No, I'm going to print it anyways." Lisa calls him, says, "You better not print it." And the guy's like, "Look, it feels dirty, but I got to print something." So Lisa's like, "Fine, you know what? I got something for you." And then that kind of cuts into the next part where next kind of storyline, I guess you would call it, for each individual. Lisa is kind of looking to start moving away from Navy Street, even though she basically runs the gym, I mean, Alvy's in charge, but she handles all the business shit. She's the one who's getting people fights, getting them the deals that they deserve. She's the one, making this shit happen. So, she knows that the company, King Beast, it got bought out by these foreign investors. So, and one of the guys who is, I think he's in charge actually, came up to Lisa and is like, look, we want to hire you. We're pushing out, um, we're pushing out, uh, oh fuck, Garo, uh, basically pushing him out, and, uh, we want you to basically take his place. So she tells him no at first, and actually ends up going to Garo and saying, "Hey, look, I turned them down, but look, they're trying to push you out." And Garo, like the fucking G he is, I like fucking Garo's character, man. Garo is a fucking G, man. But Garo is like, look, sometimes the horse with the biggest cock gets put out the pasture. You know, he's basically like, you know what? Uh, it's gonna happen. You know, there's nothing I can do about it. It was a great run, basically. He's like, you know what? You should take the job, right? And she's already kind of on the fence about it when this whole thing with um, Ryan and Dom and all that happens, right? Well, with that shit going down, you know, Ryan ends up coming up to her after, you know, she commented on what Dom said and started just fucking berating her and telling her basically she's a whore, and not directly calling her a whore, but saying that basically she fucked her way into where she is now. Although he does make the point that you're supposed to fuck your way to the top, not the bottom, which it was kind of funny. It was fucked up, but funny. Kind of made me giggle because she makes shit money, but like she's running shit. She's basically the one running Navy Street. So there's that whole tension. Plus, Ryan's pissed off that she fucked Dom. So, you know, and I don't know if it's jealousy or it's probably a bit of that. It's probably, he tries to make it about how would this look with you trying to represent me. Although, like I said, I really think it's about jealousy. I mean, he still isn't over her even after how many seasons now. But, she is his ex-fiance. So, um, so that happens. So that kind of pushes her in the direction of going with King Beast, because what's really, there's not much left for her at Navy Street. So there's that. Then as far as Alvy, Jay, and Nate, Alvy basically found out last episode that his mother is trying to kill herself, and it was in the hospital, and he's dealing with this whole situation, trying to basically convince her to go on medication for depression, and at one point has this really heartfelt conversation with her where he's like, look, I go through the same thing. I have problems with depression. I, you know, um, I know what you're going through, and I take these pills, and it helps me, and I'm good, I don't have these suicidal thoughts, and of course his sons are there with him, basically supporting him. So they ended up having to fly to Arizona to try and you know convince Jay's mother to not kill herself, to stop trying to kill herself. Um, so, uh, it's, eh, that's just the thing with, huh. But, you know, that's the thing. Like, trying to get her to not kill herself. In fact, he finds a note of hers that addressed directly to him, you know, um, saying, hey, I love you, and, it's just, I just can't do this anymore. I'm at my wit's end, basically. And, I can't do this anymore. I can't go on living anymore, you know. And, by the way, the mother, I swear, looks like the, um, oh, what's her name from Rocky? Adrian from Rocky. Like, kind of looks like her. Maybe I'm tripping. You know, maybe I'm tripping, but actually, I think that is Talia Shire. I gotta fucking look that shit up. Anyways, um, I don't even know like what her I forget what her character's name is in uh Kingdom. Anyway, that's a complete side note. Um, you know, but it is. Holy shit. Wow. So it is her. Fuck. Hey, I have a good eye. Anyways, oh, her name's Annette. Fuck. Alright, Annette. Anyways, Annette, um, has this conversation, and really heartfelt, and finally, she's like, you know what, uh, just one thing you can do for me, Alfie, is give me some food, because, you know, uh, she was hungry or whatever, because she doesn't like the food there, I guess. But really, what she was trying to do, was just trying to push him away, which fucking was rough. Completely fucking rough. Because he goes to the place to get the burger she wanted, and gets a phone call, and Alvy gets a phone call, basically saying she doesn't want to see you anymore. She doesn't want you to come in. And he's like, no, I literally just came over here to get her a burger, which she said she wanted. I was just in the room with her not even like 20 minutes ago. He doesn't say that, but, he's like, I was just in the hospital with her. What are you talking about? So, that's just fucking heartbreaking because, here he is trying his best to try and help her keep it together and trying to help her through depression and suicidal tendencies, and it was just fucking heartbreaking, man. So, yeah, and then, and you got, and this kind of all ties together because all these three characters are together at this point at the end of the episode. But Jay is he's always been kind of the loud mouth, cocky brother, but he is really in his down slump because he was married, he has a kid, and his wife wants nothing to do with him, especially because, well, she basically made him quit fighting because she wanted him to be around, I guess, for his daughter. In the long term. So he tried his hardest to try and just get a regular job. He quit fighting. He was trying to work as a real estate agent, and it just did not work out. It turned bad real quick. Because he's a fairly aggressive guy. He's a fairly aggressive guy, and he has that tendency. He tends to be overly emotional. He tends to be, kind of a bit more in your face. So that has not served him well, even in real estate. So, so he had a really rough time because when he lost that job, what ended up happening is his wife basically says, I don't want you to come around anymore. I want nothing to do with you anymore. I don't want you coming over to see your daughter anymore, which just absolutely fucking broke his heart. I mean, he loves his daughter with all his heart, and it's to basically be told don't come around anymore, with the woman that he loved and was willing to give up everything that he was to appease, is just fucking rough, and so he ended up going back to drugs, fucking straight up needle, like, hardcore shit. And, the families, it's just like, look, you can't do that shit, Albie especially, was like, look, you have to stay clean, and when staying clean, I'm gonna get you another fight, and we're gonna get you back into this, because he went out, he stopped fighting on a win, which is a great way to go out, by the way, but, he felt like he could do more, he was in his prime, and he just he wasn't happy trying to limit his potential that he felt as a person being in real estate, you know. So, it really didn't work out. So, he goes back to drugs. So Alvy's like, hey, you know what? Get clean, and I'm going to get you fighting again. So, that's a whole struggle. Plus, on top, his grandma, which is, in the hospital. So he goes with Alvy and with his brother Nate. To the hospital, and he's just really in bad shape, you know. But so after the whole thing with Alvy and his mother, you know, basically kicking him out, he goes back to the house, back to his mom's house, and because again they're in Arizona, trying to, take care of Alvy's mom, the grandmother. They're all like, you know what, let's go out, have a drink, one last drink before we go, because, Alvy's like, you know what, just change the flight tomorrow to tomorrow, and if we can't get a flight tomorrow, we'll just drive the rental out there, rental back. So they go out for a drink, and one last drink, and he sees this beautiful woman at the bar, and of course, in true Jay style, he goes up to her and starts talking to her, and they get really, and he's having this moment with her where, he's like, look, my relationships have not gone well in the past. One was, just basically let me do whatever the hell I want, and, and let me walk all over her and everything else. And the last one, which is his ex, tried to basically control him too much, and not let him be who he is, trying to change who he is, everything else. And he's having this heartfelt moment with this random woman who, I don't know, maybe she's the manager of the cowboy bar. I don't know. She said she drinks for free there. I'm assuming that's what it is. But, and she gets this, she is a little bit older than him, a little bit wiser. And she's like, yeah, you have to kind of, walk that fine line, you can't let a guy run wild, but at the same time, a broken man is useless. I think that's what she said. So, he's like, yes, and he just, really just finds this woman that he feels like understands him, and they end up, dancing together and everything else. And that's where I'm going to leave with that part, because it kind of all culminates at the end. So, going from Nate's perspective, he has been doing really well fighting. He and his boyfriend are really getting along, but his boyfriend keeps telling him that he needs to come out. You know, Jay knows. Um, Jay knows he's gay. Um, you know, Christina, his mother, knows that he's gay. Um, you know, so a lot of people know, but he hasn't told his dad, which is going to be rough because Nate doesn't know how uh, Alvy's going to respond. Um, and he's kind of a macho guy, super hyper, masculine type of, you got to be the manly man, you know, you got to be the alpha male kind of guy. And he's been putting it off, because he's scared of what's gonna happen. And you know, uh, so uh, that so with everything going on, like he goes with his dad. He goes with Alvy to see his grandmother, although he doesn't. Uh, Jay and Nate don't actually see her. They're just kind of out in the hall waiting while Alvy talks to his mom. But they're kind of there for support, and so this whole thing's going down, and he's just kind of, trying to keep it all together, with everything kind of crumbling around him. Everyone else's lives all crumbling around him, and kind of Alvy, being he feels. I think he feels like he's kind of just in the background in the family too much. That he's that he doesn't really get the love and affection from his dad that he deserves, really. At least that's the way I see it. Like he's always been kind of like the stable one in the family. And while that's great that he doesn't have a lot of the same problems as Alvy or Jay, or even really Ryan for that matter, because he's kind of like an adopted son at this point. But the fact that he is the stable one of the group kind of is hard because he doesn't have this fucked up like bond with his dad the same way that Jay does. So so he goes with his dad to see his grandma, and or again, not really see her, but kind of be there for support. And he's trying to watch over his brother, make sure he doesn't start using again, and making sure his dad's okay with the whole thing with his mother, with Alvy's mom. And when they go out to drink together, it with Jay going off with that woman, kind of hitting on that woman. Alvy and Nate are just kind of sitting there together, and I really think that's like the first time in a while I've seen just the two of them together. and they're just kind of sitting there drinking, and you know, um, he ends up, he ends up telling his dad, like, look, I'm gay, you know, and Alvy is just, he's a complete asshole about it, you know. Um, at first thinking it was a joke, and then, you know, uh, Alvy basically says, oh, what, so you telling me that you're a faggot? Which is, son's telling me he's a faggot and all this other horrible shit that he says, right? And, so, Nate, you know, just fucking walks off. He's pissed the fuck off because, although he kind of expected him to not be accepting, I guess, the way that Alvy handled it was terrible. Especially with at the end of their conversation, where Alvy just kind of makes it about him, It's like, oh, well, my mom's in the hospital trying to kill herself, and you're trying to tell me that you're, and my son's trying to tell me that he's a faggot and all this other horrible stuff, and it's just, just, he's like, why would you do this to me and all this other shit. And it's just, the first time Nate has been able to, I feel, be fully open with his dad, especially with the last episode, Alvy saying that, he wants them to talk more and be closer and everything else. And, Nate took that to heart, and he's like, so he's telling his dad, he's coming out to his dad, and he's acting fucking horribly towards his son, and so he walks out, and, Jay and Alvy are both chasing after him. First, Jay sees him walking out and follows him, and then, Alvy pretty far behind, telling Jay to stop him and everything else, so they walk out of the club, out of the bar, and they're kind of shoving each other, and Nate's fucking pissed at his dad, and so Nate feels somebody's hand on his shoulder, so he grabs him and fucking throws him and starts punching or whatever, thinking, not knowing who the hell it was. Well, it ends up being the bouncer to the bar who had a gun and ends up shooting Nate. And he's fucking just sitting there bleeding out after being shot, everyone rushing to him. Jay, having seen all of this, just is like, somebody call an ambulance, it's fucking awful, man. It's fucking heart-wrenching. Like, I seriously hope they don't fucking kill off Nate, because that would be absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, Nick Jonas has done such a great job with that character. I mean, kudos to Nick Jonas for sure. I mean, he really has shed that, boy band image for sure of the Jonas Brothers, because that's really what he was known for. He was an actor beforehand, but very but not like. Although I haven't seen any of his previous works, but I guess he was an actor before he was a Jonas Brother. But my God, the way he portrays that character is really, really just grade A. Grade A acting from Nick Jonas on that. So that's what happened in this episode. And Jesus Christ, I mean, they better not kill off Nate, man. That would be fucking awful. I mean, right before Nick Jonas's character Nate was shot, you know, um, he comes out to his dad. You know, I mean, that would be a fucking awful, awful way to do that character. So I really hope that he's okay. Uh, so yeah, that's pretty much my coverage of it. Um, Heart-wrenching episode, really good show. Great actors, really just great actors, start to finish. Um, I definitely, if you haven't seen the rest of this show, man, I would suggest watching it. But yeah, uh, holy shit, I've been at this for a while. That was kind of a long summary. Try to cover everything as much as I could, you know. So yeah, that's it. Um, that's my coverage of it. Um, yeah, I hope you enjoyed my commentary. Probably not, because nobody ever watches this shit anyways. Hey, but I thought I would put something out there, you know, different. I mean, commentary is not different, but everyone does commentary on anime. People do commentary on shows like Vikings and a bit more fantasy related content. You know, all that. This is a little more gripped in reality. And like I said, I don't see anything on YouTube commenting on Kingdom. So, I thought I would do that. Uh, yeah, so that's my commentary. Have a good day. Peace.